want this to be running in sync with our music, we can simply click on this sync button here in the LFO window, and we can change this. I recommend a good starting point as 1/12 or 16th notes here. Let's try the 1/12. So we can hear as this is changing the rate at which the frequencies, amps, and wavetable positions of all of this are automating. Now let's move over to our effects. I want to add an effect on top of this. And in effect position 1, I'm going to add a dimension expander. The dimension expander is more or less just a very short or slapback style delay. It gives a left and right channel. The delay slapbacks are timed slightly differently, so it really helps to widen out our sound. And we're going to just use a very, very slight amount, just a little bit of size and a little bit of wet signal. Now you can hear it start to expand out the sound. It's giving some room sound around our bass, which is what we're looking for. And lastly, we're going to add a little bit of a small reverb on top of this as well to give it some additional room sound. Great, so that's the sound we're looking for, but we're going to take it one step further now. Massive down at the bottom here has this macro control matrix, and this gives us the ability to map one knob to multiple parameters. And in this case, I'm using a MIDI controller, and I'd like to be able to not have this be a static sound. Like, I want to be able to change a couple of aspects of it while I'm using the patch to give it more life, to give it more expandability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take macro knob 1 here. I'm going to enter MIDI map mode by pressing Command or Control on PC and the M key, and I'm going to turn a knob on my MIDI controller, exit MIDI map mode. Now when I move the knob on my MIDI controller, it'll move this knob on massive. Now we can map things to this knob. I'm going to take this knob and I'm going to have it control filter cutoff on both of my filters. That way I can have manual and LFO control, and you'll see why this is important in a second. I click and drag my mouse upwards so I can see the range in which that knob will be controlling the filter cutoff. I'm going to adjust the filter cutoffs down and have the knob move them a little bit further up. I'm also going to have it control the bandwidth on my bandpass filter. All the way like this. And I'm even going to have it control a little bit of the resonance on the filter. So what that means now is every time I move this knob, it'll be controlling all of those parameters in yellow. Now what I'm going to do is I want the second knob to control another parameter. So I'm going to enter MIDI map mode again. I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to turn another knob on my MIDI controller. Exiting map mode, I now have knob number 2 being controlled by this knob that I just mapped to on my hardware controller. Now, I'm going to have this knob control the frequency of the LFO, the rate. Now in order to automate the rate of the LFO, it needs to be off of sync mode. And then I can drag it to this box right here, and I can drag up and increase the rate. And that way, when I turn knob number 2, it will be increasing the rate of the LFO. Let's just listen to how this sounds for a second. That's pretty close to the sound that we started off with. And we're going to just do one last step here, and we're going to add a little bit of automation to our effects here. So we're going to take knob number 1 again, and we're going to have knob number 1, macro number 1, control the dry wet and the size of our reverb and our dimension expander. Now this should give us quite a bit of expressive control over the sound, giving the ability to automate some effects or the room sound, make it sound bigger, as well as the filter cutoffs or how extreme the sound gets, and finally the space around or the speed of the LFO that controls the tempo of our wobble. So let's have a listen to all of this in unison, and here's how it sounds. that's how to make wobble bass in Massive, Vespers style. If you guys want to keep in touch, the best ways to do that are Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, my blog, and website. All of the links are down below in the description field to this video, and I also have a mailing list that I send out all kinds of juicy tracks and samples and different types of tutorial videos. So if you found value in this video, definitely sign up on the mailing list and rate and subscribe the video. It helps the word get out. Cheers.
Wow.